1. We're checking out this pretty interesting 1983 Chevy K20 that just popped up on Craigslist for $9,800. Let me tell you, these K20s are absolute workhorses, and this one's got some solid features worth talking about. Under the hood, you're looking at a rebuilt 350 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's the kind of classic combo that'll put a smile on any truck lover's face. The seller mentions it runs great, and with power steering and brakes, it's not some bare-bones work truck. The 4x4 system is functional, which is huge for a truck of this age. I'm really digging those brand new BFG tires, 285/75R16. That's a serious upgrade and definitely adds value. The flatbed setup makes this a super practical work truck, and the heat working properly is a nice bonus, especially for those cold Colorado mornings. Now, let's be real here. It's not perfect. The seller's honest about some rust in the cab corners, which is pretty typical for these old K20s. But being a Colorado truck, it's probably not as bad as what you'd find in the Salt Belt states. For $9,800, considering today's crazy truck market, you're getting a solid 3-4-ton 4x4 work truck with a rebuilt engine and new rubber. Just keep in mind you're buying a 40-year-old truck, so expect some typical old truck quirks. But overall, if you're in the market for a classic work truck that can still put in the hours, this K20 deserves a look. 2. We're diving into something really special, a 1977 GMC K15 that's currently listed for $13,500, and let me tell you, this isn't your average old pickup truck. This K15 is basically a labor of love that took the owner 5 years to build, and you can really tell this wasn't just some rushed flip job. The heart of this beast is a brand new 454 big block with only about 2,000 miles on it. That's barely broken in. It's paired with a turbo 400 transmission and a 205 transfer case, running 3.73 gears, which is a sweet spot for both power and usability. What really catches my attention is the serious off-road hardware. We're talking ARB air lockers front and rear with an ARB pump system. That's premium stuff, folks. The owner added some really thoughtful touches like a hidden front winch with synthetic rope and a custom swing-out tire carrier in the rear. The custom side exit exhaust is a nice touch too. The body's rocking what the owner calls awesome patina, and it's straight, no major damage. Inside, you're looking at a cherry dash and headliner, nice seat, and new sun visors. Everything's functional, which is impressive for a truck of this vintage. Here's the honest truth. At $13,500, you're not just buying a 77 GMC. You're buying a purpose-built rig that's been thoughtfully modified for serious mountain adventures. The owner built it specifically for high Cascade mountain camping trips, and the build reflects that intention. Just the 454 rebuild alone was around $5,000 with installation. 3. We're looking at a pretty interesting 1970 Dodge D300 one-ton flatbed that's listed for $9,000, and I've got to be straight with you about this one. This truck has an interesting history as a Department of the Interior surplus vehicle that was rebuilt in 2016. Under the hood, you've got a rebuilt 318 cubic inch V8 with a rebuilt 3-speed auto trans, and it's running some serious 4.56 gears in the back, definitely built for work, not speed. The seller's been really honest about this truck's condition, which I appreciate. You're getting a 9.5-foot flatbed that's been sandblasted and powder-coated, with a nice aluminum toolbox and new ICC-approved rear bumper. The interior's got some cool custom touches with bucket seats and a center section, plus a new factory-style radio and headliner. Now let's talk about the issues because there are quite a few. The power steering only works in one direction. That's a safety concern. The brake pedal sticks, causing the brake lights to stay on. The carburetor float sticks sometimes, and the radiator's leaking. The clear coat is peeling, there are some rust spots and small dents, and the tires, while newer, are showing weather checking. At $9,000, you're looking at a project truck that needs some immediate attention to be truly roadworthy. The bones are good, and a lot of work has been done, but you'll need to factor in repairs for those mechanical issues. The 57 miles showing are claimed to be actual, which is nice, but remember, this is a 53-year-old work truck with quirks. 4. We're checking out a pretty sweet 1969 Chevy C20 that's listed for $14,500, and I've got to say, this one's got some real potential. This is a California truck with a solid family history. Just 2 owners, all in the same family, which is always a good sign. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8, and the seller's done some serious recent maintenance that's worth noting. New carburetor, professionally installed and tuned. Fresh ignition components including distributor cap, rotor, wire harness, spark plugs, points, and condenser. What's really catching my attention here is the California heritage. We're talking minimal rust, just some surface stuff where the paint's worn through. Being a California truck means we're not dealing with the usual rust horror stories you find in other regions. The seller's been upfront about the cosmetic needs. There's a small dent in the grille that's apparently an easy fix, and the seat has a tear under the current cover. Mechanically, this truck seems solid. They've done a fluid flush and full lube service, installed a new gas tank and float a couple years back, and it's rolling on brand new tires. The brakes and transmission are reported to be in good shape, which is crucial for these old workhorses. At $14,500, you're getting a running driving classic C20 that's ready for either immediate use or would make an excellent canvas for restoration. The fact that it's smog exempt in California is a nice bonus. Sure, it needs some cosmetic love. A paint job and interior work would really make it pop, but the important stuff seems to be sorted. 5. We're looking at an interesting 1976 Chevy K10 Scottsdale that's on the market for $9,000, and this one's got some serious upgrades worth talking about. The heart of this beast is a 383-stroker motor paired with a rebuilt TH400 3-speed automatic. That's a solid power combo that's known for reliability and grunt. The NP2003 transfer case handles the 4x4 duties, though heads up, it needs a shorter front drive shaft, sellers including a longer one that can be cut to fit. Let's talk about the serious upgrades this truck's sporting. There's a rough country 4-inch lift kit with new leaf springs and shocks, fresh cab bushings, and heavy-duty shackles. The power steering pump, brake master cylinder, and U-joints are all new. That's some important maintenance items taken care of. Those Mickey Thompson 35X 12.5R17 tires are wrapped around original 17-inch American racing wheels, which is a pretty sweet setup. Now, being honest here, there are a few things to consider. The odometer's broken, so there's no way to verify the mileage. The 4x4 system needs that drive shaft sorted before it's fully functional, so factor that into your plans. At $9,000, you're getting a lifted classic K10 with some serious mechanical upgrades and current registration through 2026. It's not a finished product, but rather a solid platform to continue building on. The seller's straight up about it being a project to continue, which is refreshing. 6. We're looking at a 1972 Chevy C20 Longhorn that's listed for $4,500, and I've got to be completely honest with you about this one. It's definitely a project truck that needs some serious work. Let's start with what you're getting. It's a 3/4-ton long bed with the classic 350 V8 paired to a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a desirable powertrain combo. The truck does run, though not perfectly. It's got some stuttering issues that the seller thinks might be related to either a stuck carburetor needle or fuel pump problems. Now, here's where we need to get real. This truck has some major rust issues. We're talking about serious rust in critical areas: cab bottom, floors, supports, sills, and both inner and outer rockers. These aren't just cosmetic issues, they're structural concerns that will require significant metalwork and investment to properly repair. At $4,500, you need to understand what you're getting into. This isn't a weekend project, it's a full restoration candidate that's going to need substantial work, time, and money. The seller's being upfront about its condition, which I appreciate. You're basically buying a project that needs everything, but it does have a clean title, and it's at least running, albeit not perfectly. 7. We're checking out something pretty cool, a 1974 Chevy El Camino with some Hollywood history listed at $6,500, and I've got to say, this one's got an interesting story. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8 paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission. What's cool about this particular El Camino is that it was actually featured in the Foo Fighters movie, Studio 6666. How's that for some unique provenance? The seller's refreshingly honest about this car's condition, describing it as a Hollywood gal. Looks great from a distance, but needs some cosmetic attention up close. It's got some nice features including swiveling captain's chairs, chrome trim, a newer stereo system, and working AC, which is a big plus for these classics. There's also a brand new battery, which is always nice. Now let's be real here. The odometer shows 26,147 miles, but it's definitely rolled over at least once. The seller's upfront about not being a car dude, so we don't have deep technical details about its condition. However, they're including some valuable extras: a car cover, battery tender, and a box of spare parts they've collected over the years. At $6,500, considering today's market, and the fact that it's a running, driving El Camino with working AC and some movie history, it could be a decent deal. Just keep in mind, you'll likely need to address some cosmetic issues, and you might want to have a mechanic check it out since the seller can't provide detailed mechanical information. 8. We're looking at a pretty wild 1985 K5 Blazer that's listed for $14,000. And this isn't your average K5. Someone's put some serious work into this rig. The biggest highlight here is what's under the hood. This K5's been upgraded from the original 305 to a monster 454 big block, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a serious power upgrade that completely transforms the character of this Blazer. It's running a 208 transfer case and has been beefed up with 1-ton 8-lug axles, which is a serious upgrade for durability. The current setup includes a 4-inch lift, riding on new leaf springs and shocks, wrapped in 285/75R16 Milestar Patagonia MT tires that are practically new 2022 DOT code. They've done some nice modernizing too. The AC's been converted to R134, there's a new radiator, and the interior's just been reupholstered and is reportedly in perfect condition. Now let's be honest about the rust situation. Being a Utah truck, it does have some rust issues, though the seller mentions they've checked the common rust areas with a magnet and says it's not too bad. The odometer shows 90,000 miles, but on these older rigs, that's less important than the overall condition and upgrades. At $14,000, you're getting a seriously upgraded K5 with some expensive modifications already done. The 454 4-speed manual combo is pretty rare in these, and those 1-ton axles aren't cheap upgrades. Just be sure to inspect those rust spots carefully before pulling the trigger. 9. We're checking out a 1970 Chevy C10 that's listed for $13,000, and this one's got some interesting modern upgrades worth talking about. The most notable feature here is what's under the hood. Instead of the original engine, it's running a 1997-era fuel-injected 350 V8. That's actually a pretty smart upgrade because you get the reliability and better drivability of modern fuel injection while keeping the classic Chevy small block character. It's paired with a TH350 automatic transmission, which is a solid, reliable combo. One unique feature of this truck is its triple gas tank setup. You've got 2 tanks under the bed and a new one behind the seat. That's some serious fuel capacity. The truck's also equipped with power steering, which makes it much more manageable for daily use. The odometer shows 140,000 miles, but remember that's less relevant given the newer engine swap. The yellow paint gives it a distinctive look, though we don't have details about its condition or when it was painted. At $13,000, you're getting a classic C10 with some practical modern upgrades. The fuel-injected 350 means better cold starts, more reliable operation, and easier maintenance compared to a carbureted setup. While the seller's description is pretty brief, these C10s are known for their solid platforms and great potential for both daily use and further customization. 10. We're looking at a 1985 Ford F-250 that's listed for $7,500. And if you love big displacement engines with manual transmissions, you might want to pay attention to this one. The star of the show here is that massive 460 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a pretty rare and desirable combination that gives you tons of torque with the fun of rowing your own gears. This truck's got all the comfort features too: power steering, power brakes, working AC, and cruise control, which is pretty impressive for a truck of this age. The seller's being straightforward about the condition. The body's generally solid but has some minor dents and dings, and there are some rust bubbles starting above the rear wheel. It comes with a topper, which is always handy for keeping your cargo protected, and they've just installed a brand new windshield. The odometer shows 37,000 miles, but has rolled over at least once, so keep that in mind. Being a 2WD model, it's more suited for hauling than off-road duty, but that 460 4-speed combo means it's got plenty of muscle for towing or hauling heavy loads. At $7,500, you're getting a lot of truck with a desirable powertrain combo. These 460-powered Fords are known for their reliability and pulling power, though don't expect great fuel economy. These big blocks are thirsty. 11. We're looking at a 1978 Ford F-250 XLT Ranger Camper Special that's listed for $5,700, and I've got to appreciate the seller's honesty about this one. Under the hood, you've got a low-mileage 400 mr V8 with an RV cam, which is paired with the desirable NP435 4-speed manual and an NP205 transfer case. That's a seriously robust drivetrain setup. The axles are equally impressive. A Dana 60 high pinion front with open knuckle kingpins and a Dana 60 rear. These are some of the strongest axles you could get in a pickup of this era. Some nice upgrades include new 33-inch tires mounted on aluminum wheels, a 3-inch custom exhaust with a MagnaFlow muffler, and it's got the convenience of dual fuel tanks. The odometer's broken, so actual mileage is unknown. Now, let's be real here. The seller's upfront about this being an old, rusty, dented truck. It's missing AC, and there are clearly some cosmetic issues to address. However, with that heavy-duty drivetrain setup, it could either be put to work immediately or serve as a solid foundation for a frame-off restoration project. At $5,700, you're getting a lot of heavy-duty hardware for the money. These old Ford trucks are known for their durability, and this one's got some desirable mechanical specs. Just don't expect a show truck. This is either a working truck or a project, depending on your plans. 12. We're looking at a 1974 Chevy K10 that's listed for $30,000. And while that price might raise some eyebrows, let's talk about what we're dealing with here. This isn't your average K10. We're talking about a frame-off restoration, which means this truck was completely taken apart and rebuilt from the ground up. Under the hood, it's running a stroker engine, likely a built 383 based on the common builds for these trucks, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a fantastic combination for both power and driver engagement. The odometer shows 45,000 miles, but on a frame-off restoration, that number is less relevant since everything's been rebuilt. The yellow paint really makes this truck pop, and being a frame-off restoration, you can expect the finish quality to be significantly better than original. Now let's talk about that $30,000 price tag. While it's definitely on the higher end for a 74 K10, frame-off restorations aren't cheap. We're talking about thousands of hours of labor and significant parts costs. Everything from the nuts and bolts to major components has likely been either restored or replaced. The seller's description is pretty brief, but they're confident in stating that everything runs excellent with nothing wrong with it, which is what you'd expect from a proper frame-off build. 13. We're checking out a 1978 K5 Blazer that's listed for $12,000, and let's break down what we're looking at here. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8 with a new Holley 4-barrel carburetor, which is a solid combination for these old K5s. The truck's been lifted 4 inches and is sitting on 33-inch tires, giving it that classic lifted Blazer stance that everyone loves. Now, let's be honest about the condition. This one's a bit of a mixed bag. The seller's up front about some rust spots, which is pretty common for these K5s, so you'll want to check those areas carefully. The interior needs some attention too. We've got a gray painted dash, not original, brown everything else, and seats that apparently don't match. On the plus side, there is new carpet installed. The odometer's rolled over at least once, so we're looking at more than 100,000 miles, which isn't unusual for these trucks. It's got a clean title, which is always good to hear. At $12,000, you're getting a lifted K5 with the desirable 350 auto combo and some recent upgrades like the new Holley carb. It's not a show truck by any means. You'll need to address those rust spots and sort out the interior if you want it to look its best. But these K5 Blazers have a strong following, and good ones are getting harder to find. 14. We're looking at a 1964 Chevy C10 that's listed for $27,500. And this one's got some interesting custom touches that set it apart from your typical C10. Under the hood, you've got the classic 283 V8 paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. That's the original style powertrain that these trucks came with. But where things get interesting is in the modifications. This truck's been upgraded with a front disc brake conversion, a huge improvement over the original drums, and it's running an air ride suspension system, which lets you adjust the ride height and get that perfect stance. The truck's rolling on 17-inch Steelies, which is a clean, period-appropriate look while still allowing for modern tire options. Being a San Jose, California truck, there's a good chance the body's in better shape than what you'd find in rust-prone regions. Now, about that $27,500 price tag, it's definitely on the higher end for a C10, so you'll want to inspect the quality of the modifications and overall condition carefully. The odometer's broken and shows 5,000 miles, so there's no way to verify the actual mileage. The seller's description is pretty brief, so you'll want to ask about the details of the air ride setup when the disc brake conversion was done and get a better understanding of the truck's overall condition and any additional modifications. 15. I've got to point out something interesting about this listing right away. There seems to be some confusion in the seller's description because they've listed this as FWD, which isn't possible for a 1977 F-150, as these were all rear-wheel or four-wheel drive trucks. What we're looking at here is a 1977 Ford F-150 Ranger with a long bed configuration, powered by a V8 engine, likely either a 351 or 400 cubic inch, paired with an automatic transmission. The odometer shows 90,000 miles, but has rolled over at least once, so actual mileage is unknown. The seller's asking $20,000, which is quite a premium for a 77 F-150, even in excellent condition. Unfortunately, the description is extremely brief, which makes it hard to justify that price point without more information about any restoration work, modifications, or specific details about its condition. While it's listed in excellent condition and wears red paint, we really need more details about what makes this truck worth $20,000. These old Ford trucks are great platforms and have a strong following, but at this price point, you'd expect either significant restoration work, desirable options, or some special history. If you're interested in this truck, you'll definitely want to ask for more details about its history, any restoration work, the specific engine size, and what makes it command such a premium price. 16. We're checking out a 1985 Ford Bronco Eddie Bauer edition that's listed for $20,000, and this one's got some features worth talking about. First off, this is the desirable Eddie Bauer edition, which was the top-of-the-line luxury trim for these Broncos. Under the hood, you've got the 5.0 LV8, that's the 302 for you Ford folks, paired with an automatic transmission and 4x4 capability. One big plus is that it has working AC, which isn't always the case with these older SUVs. A significant recent upgrade is the set of brand new 35-inch BF Goodrich KO2 tires. These are premium all-terrain tires that aren't cheap, easily running over $1,000 for a full set. They're some of the best tires you can put on a vehicle like this for both on- and off-road use. Now, about that $20,000 price tag. While it's on the higher end for an '85 Bronco, the Eddie Bauer editions do command a premium, and these first-gen Broncos have been climbing in value. However, the seller's description is pretty brief, so you'd want to get more details about the vehicle's history, mileage, and any restoration work that's been done. If you're interested in this Bronco, definitely ask about rust, a common issue with these, the condition of the removable top, and any mechanical work that's been done. The Eddie Bauer trim and those new KO2s are nice, but at this price point, you'll want to make sure everything else checks out too. 17. We're looking at a 1971 Chevy C10 short bed that's listed for $14,900, and I appreciate how straightforward the seller is being about this truck's condition. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8 paired with a TH350 automatic transmission. That's a bulletproof combination that's easy to maintain and repair. It's got a 12-bolt rear end with posy traction, which is a desirable feature, and power steering and brakes make it more comfortable to drive. The seller's being refreshingly honest about the truck's condition. On the positive side, it runs and drives excellent. All the lights and gauges are working, which isn't always the case with these old trucks. And it's got new seats and console. Plus, it's an original short bed, not a converted long bed, which adds value. Now, let's talk about the issues. There's rust in the floorboards, and there are bubbles in the bottom of the doors and rockers. These are common rust areas for these C10s, but they'll need to be addressed before they get worse. The odometer shows 86,000 miles, but on a truck this age, condition is more important than mileage. At $14,900, you're getting a running and driving classic C10 with some desirable features, but you'll need to factor in the cost of rust repair. The seller's upfront about continuing to work on it and potentially raising the price, so if you're interested, you might want to move quickly. 18. We're looking at a 1970 Ford F-250 Camper Special Ranger that's listed for $29,500, and this one's got some interesting details to discuss. Under the hood, you've got a built 390 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which has been rebuilt. That's a strong powertrain combo that these trucks are known for. The Camper Special package means this truck came with heavy-duty suspension components from the factory, and it's been upgraded with front disc brakes, which is a nice safety improvement over the original drums. The seller mentions it's had a fresh paint job in green, and they're emphasizing that it's rust-free, which is a big deal for a truck of this vintage. They've also noted that many new parts have been installed, though we'd want to get specifics on what those include. Now here's the current situation. The truck recently got backed into in a parking lot. The seller's being upfront about this damage and is offering to either fix it as part of the deal or sell it as is. They say the damage is minimal, but you'll definitely want to see those pictures to assess it yourself. At $29,500, this is premium pricing for an F-250 of this era, even a Camper Special Ranger. You'll want to get more details about the built 390, what was done to it, the list of new parts, and really inspect that recent damage before making a decision. The combination of the Camper Special package, Ranger trim, and 4-speed manual does make it more desirable, but make sure the quality matches the asking price. 19. We're looking at a fascinating 1975 Chevy K20 that's listed for $23,500, and this one's got an interesting story that we need to unpack. This is a one-owner pre-smog K20 that's been sitting on jack stands for quite a while, last tagged in '97. The odometer shows just 25,000 miles, and given the history, that could be original. Under the hood, it appears to be running the classic 350 V8 paired with a TH350 automatic transmission, and the seller mentions it might have one of the better transfer cases, possibly an NP205. Now, here's where we need to be real. This truck isn't currently running. The previous owner was in the middle of some work when he passed away. According to the service records, they had installed a cam and headers, but the project wasn't finished. The transmission was pulled to fix either a rear main seal or transfer case leak, and some engine components, air filter, distributor cap, are currently off. The tires might be original or from '95 based on the date codes, which means they'll need to be replaced regardless of condition due to age. The truck comes with all paperwork and service records, which is a huge plus for documenting its history. At $23,500, this is pretty steep for a non-running K20, even with low miles. Yes, it's a desirable pre-smog truck with one owner and documented history, but you're looking at completing someone else's project. You'll need to factor in the cost of finishing the transmission work, potentially replacing all the tires, and getting it running again. 20. We're checking out a stunning 1955 Chevy 3100 pickup that's listed for $23,000, and this one's got some serious curb appeal. Under the hood, the original inline 6 has been swapped for a 350 cubic inch V8, which is paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a great combination that gives you plenty of power while keeping the engaging driving experience of a manual gearbox. The custom side pipe exhaust system probably makes this thing sound absolutely fantastic. The exterior is finished in candy black cherry paint, which sounds gorgeous, and based on the description, it's been well executed. One of the standout features is the varnished wood bed, which adds that perfect touch of classic style. They've added some modern touches like a paint-matched diamond plate rear bumper, which blends functionality with style. The odometer shows 51,685 miles, but on a restored classic like this, that number is less relevant than the quality of the restoration work. The seller indicates it's in excellent running condition and drives well, which is important because some restored trucks look great, but aren't very practical to actually use. At $23,000, you're getting a beautifully restored classic truck with some thoughtful upgrades. The 350-tier 4-speed swap gives you reliable power with modern serviceability while keeping that vintage driving experience intact. These 55 3100s are highly sought after, and good ones aren't getting any cheaper.